Hello, everybody. All right, sorry I'm a little late today. Just had some stuff come up last minute, but hopefully everybody's having a good day today. No co-host tonight. Wasn't able to get anybody, but that's okay. We probably still will do on occasion where I'll just be on my own. Um, but I still hope everybody's having a good day. And if you haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to best of my ability. So we're going to give it a couple minutes to give people a chance to come in. Give you, before we get started, I'll talk about what's on tap in a moment here. So I'm going to put some music on for a moment to go take care of something real quick. And I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. As I said, coming up, we're at 2.5 minutes. We'll give it a few more. At 3 minute mark, I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. As I said, if you guys haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Anyway. All right, so now we're past the 3 minute mark. So I guess I'll go over. So I do have one article from Bounding in the Comics we're going to go over tonight. Kind of a continuation of the article we went over yesterday. Is Brendan Blaber, the localizer who was eventually let go by Discotek, had a little bit more to say on the matter. As the article we will go over here, we'll talk about. Former Lovely Complex localizer reveals Western anime dub studios, quote, don't care if you make things nicer or more gay or add more representation. So we might have a few things to say about that. But anyways, hopefully everybody's having a good day today. Anything now? See if I can. All right. So anyways. All right. So yeah, we're at 4.5 minutes, so I might as well just go ahead and start here. So let me share the screen here. Of course, we also will do the wrestling wrap up and the this day in each history toward the end of the show. With that, why don't we go ahead and get ready to get started here on the article here. Said this is kind of a follow up to what we were talking about yesterday. As we're coming up on 5 minutes now here, so now let's go ahead and get started. So, former Lovely Complex localizer reveals Western anime dub studios, quote, don't care if you make things nicer or more gay or add more representation. Well, first off, it wasn't nicer because many fans were not happy with your disrespect for the original, um, and if it's not what the original author intended, there's no need to make something more gay or to add more representation. Article by Nerdigans Inc. published February 26, 2024. I mean, if you want to put stuff out, if you yourself want to put stuff out there that's quote unquote more gay or more LGBTQ plus friendly, or have quote unquote more diversity and more representation, then make something of yourself. Don't hijack somebody else's work to do it. Don't hijack another person's IP to push your agenda, because it's going to cost you. It's going to end up at the end of the day costing you money, because nobody's going to want to watch it. So let's get into this. So, as if recent months had not made it already very apparent that the Western Japanese to English localization scene needs a massive reform, a former localizer for Discotheque's dub of Lovely Complex has admitted that the changing of creators' original works for ideological reasons not just a common phenomena, but one that is openly allowed by industry higher ups. The confirmation of the industry's worst habit has provided was provided to the public by YouTuber Brendan Jelly Apocalypse Blaber, who recently lost his position as a discotheque localizer after he publicly admitted via a lengthy and self-aggrandizing Patreon post to butchering Lovely Complex's English dub simply because he did not like the source material. Yeah, and I know we argued this yesterday. We made the point yesterday. Well, why would they, if they didn't like it so much? Why did they even bother to get involved in it? It's because money. They like the money that brings in. They just don't like the material. But then what's going to happen when it gets back over to the creators and they realize, what are they doing to our stuff here? They're saying, you know something, if you're going to use that fool, I don't think I want to use your company, you know, to distribute. I'll find somebody who will be more, who will respect our material more, our source material more. Asked by a reader in response to his admission, quote, was there ever any pushback in terms of, in smaller quotes, accurately portraying the characters? Only, again, since you're talking about somebody who created the character, the only person to quote unquote accurately portray the characters is the person who created them in the first place. Okay? You are not there to reinterpret or to quote unquote accurately portray the characters. You're there to translate what was already there and accept that what was already originally intended. Like, were you beholden to anyone to retain the integrity of Lovely Complex? Or was it more of an, in small quotes, oh yes, please excise as much transphobia as you can from this, thank you, unquote. Blaber proudly declared, quote, the discotheque guys mostly let Lenti do what she wanted, unquote. It helps that most of the, in smaller quotes, accurate character portrayal in the sub is comprised of weird, inconsistent character tics that never amount to anything, unquote, he explained. Take Nobuko's anti-trans radar, for example. That comes up maybe 3 times. She seemingly hates Seiko for no reason, never explains why, and then Seiko walks up to her and says, in quote unquote, or smaller quotes, nice bracelet. After that, Nobuko decides to be friends with her. And just in case you guys didn't hear what I mentioned about it yesterday, Marissa Lenti, who is a voice actress and director and writer out of Dallas, um, is actually known for being a LGBTQ plus activist. So, you know, that should help you understand her, let's say, mindset. Quote, the original character trait never amounted to anything, never made sense, never came up again, and wasn't funny in the first place, unquote, argue. Well, maybe didn't make much sense to you because you were trying to look for something that wasn't there. I think most people, I don't know. I think this series is popular enough to where most people got what was actually going on. So, for you to mess with it like that is what actually made it confused. Quote, so changing it to an equally baffling, in smaller quote, I hate my fashion rival. Oh, never mind. I like her now because she complimented my bracelet. Unquote is just a lateral move, really. Unquote. So let's see. So you have Nobuko Ishihara and Seiko Kotobuki, who are voiced in the English version of the anime by Hayden Davia and Siv Ryan, um, from episode 5, Blast of Forbidden Love Away. Further, he revealed, quote, another change in smaller quotes we made is the bet Otani and Risa make, unquote. Quote, in early episodes, the in smaller quotes, main plot centers around the two of them trying to get a boy/girlfriend before the other, unquote. The localizer detailed, quote, this bet is the driving force behind episodes 2 and 3, I believe. But after that, the plot thread is dropped entirely. Even though nobody won, we added a few more mentions of that bet several episodes later and had them refer back to it to make the story flow a little more smoothly, unquote. Risa Kozumi, who is, of course, voiced by Amber Lee Connors in the English, draws the ire of Nobuko Ishikawa, Hayden Davio in Lovely Combat Episode 4, Kiss, I Like You. All right. Continuing in his revelations, Blaber informed the public of quote of note. Most anime distributors do tend to ask that you don't advertise changes like making things less transphobic. See, that's what, and I know, and I mentioned this yesterday. See, that's I think what even like Vera Dark and Yellow Flash and their coverage had mentioned. What got Blaber fired wasn't the fact that he made the changes; it was that he went public with it. He was he was bragging to everybody how he was making the change. That's what got him fired. You know, from what I understand, that's actually got what it got. I don't think they've even stated they're not going to work with him anymore. But now they've got a bit of a hornet's nest because now people know. Oh wait, do we really want to watch this discotheque because of what they might do to this property? people might start asking that, and then if people stop watching the stuff that Discotheque distributes, they're not going to be too happy because that means they're making less money. When it comes back to like sales of DVDs and Blu-rays and all that, people aren't going to want to watch the series because these people are going to preach at us. We don't want to be preached at, so we're not going to buy this product. Or we're not going to purchase a streaming service if they're just sitting there. They're just sitting there preaching at us. Let's see. This is because large swaths of the anime community are all isterphobes, etc. No, it's not that. It's that people want you to be accurate to and true to the source material. Okay, you have no right to change a person's IP. Okay, if the original artist did not portray them that way, then deal with it. Just translate or don't. Just translate what is meant to be translated. Don't put your little ideology in there. Don't put your little your little 2 cents into it. Be respectful to the source material and accurate. That's what fans want. They don't need to be preached at. They don't need to be called an ist or a phobe just because you didn't like the source material and therefore you felt that you had the right to change it. You do not have the right to change it. And much like Yellow Flash and a few others, I hope that the Japanese companies are seeing this and seeing all this coming out and starting to realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing business with Sony anymore. Maybe we shouldn't be doing business with some of these companies that are like really messing around with our properties. I mean, I may not, because of what we know about the dub, I may not watch Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid now. I think as it was originally presented by the Japanese author, I think it sounds like something I'd be interested in. But I'll have to forego it because of what Funimation did to it. So. Anyways, as we continue on. And will descend upon a company's social media page for weeks for the strangest things, unquote. He asserted, quote, Discotheque added a content warning on one of their discs and got flack for that. So they're understandably a little skittish now. Funny Crunchy works like this too, unquote. Albeit it's no longer Funimation, it's all under Crunchyroll's umbrella. Quote, TLDR, most anime distributors don't care if you make things nicer or more gay or add more representation. Well, I don't know if that's completely true because I think they do care when it comes back and bites them when it starts costing them money in licenses because you know fans see what they are doing to it. They don't like what's being done to it, and then they basically send messages back to the creators in Japan, and they're going, "What in the world's going on here? Why is this happening?" So, quote, they just ask that you don't flaunt the changes or use buzzwords. You're genuinely not allowed to say hot button words like quote unquote sexism or quote unquote patriarchy anymore in most funny dubs unless it's already in the subtitles because those are words that brain dead weebs get mad about and share on their various image board. Well, it's those tell us that the localizers are disrespecting the source material. You know, um, you know, yes, obviously they don't want you announcing this stuff because people, once people start to know, and as we've seen over the last couple months here, as more and more of this stuff is coming to light, and from what I understand, the whole issue, the localizations alter. I mean, it's one thing to alter it to make it more make more grammatical sense, because obviously the Japanese grammatical structure is a little bit different than the English grammatical structure. I don't think anybody has an issue with that. Okay. But when you start changing the core content of a series, when you start disrespecting the original author's intent and their IP, a lot of people along the line are going to be upset. Fans of the series are going to be upset because they don't like what you did to it. The original creators are going to be upset because you're messing around with their property. There are parts of the country here. You go onto somebody's property without their permission, and you're liable to get shot. So fact is, nobody wants you to push your agendas, or nobody wants you to steal somebody else's IP to push your own agenda. Quote, however, unquote, Glaber clarified, quote, you can say things like, quote unquote, chauvinist, because that isn't on the buzzword list. Of course, here's the thing, too. There's probably another reason why he got, why he basically has been blackballed from discotheque now. Because he keeps opening his mouth. He and from his perspective, he feels, well, I got fired anyway, so I might as well just stick it to him one last time and just reveal all this stuff for everybody and see how much I can hurt discotheque as I'm going out the door here. This guy's an absolute jerk. Okay? He's somebody who probably should be ostracized. Let him go back sinking to his jello apocalypse. Quote, you just need to use words they aren't pre-programmed to hate. He concluded. Well, here's the thing. A lot of these words were originally yours to begin with. These are words that a lot of these SJWs would use in the first place to try to make their arguments. And when they see them, people know that the person probably speaking is an SJW. And they don't like what they're doing to properties that otherwise are probably pretty good and a lot of people would want to see. It does get kind of worrisome too, is because what's like, we hope we don't get to the point to where even the biggest of the properties starts getting the SJW treatment, because that'll really screw things up then. You know, as of yet, we haven't like properties like, well, we've seen it with One Piece a little bit, with the Wano arc, and if y'all remember when we are covering the article about Yamato, couple, about a month or so ago, where they're trying to push her, where the localizers are trying to push her as a trans character, and even Eiichiro Oda came out and said, no, she's not trans. Okay. So, when you even have the creator come out and tell you, no, that's not true. That's not accurate. And you still decide to push it, you're the one who's wrong. Not the original creator, not the fans, you. Quote, the people who get mad about this don't actually have thoughts about these things or know why they hate. No, that's not true. I think most people know why they hate them. They hate them because you're disrespecting the original author's work. Okay? You're being disrespectful towards the original author, towards the person who actually owns the IP. What would really be nice to see, that the Japanese start going after you legally, by suing you guys for copyright infringement and all that, IP, abuse. They've just been told to hate specific words because those are the SJW words. Again, not true. Not true. Not true. Not true. It's very embarrassing. Laugh on LMAO, unquote. Hmm. At 17. Anyways, later proving that his butchering was motivated, at least in parentheses here, large part out of spite. When pressed by a separate reader, quote, I wonder how long it'll take for all the, quote, it's not true to the original bleepers to come out of the woodwork to be like, smother quote, woke translators ruining my anime. Um, Blaber proudly proclaimed, quote, in smaller quotes, not true to the original bleepers, um, I don't care what they think, unquote. You see, now, I seriously hope that this gets back to the original creators. I seriously hope that the people who originally did Lovely Complex see this. Because in essence, what I would love to see them do is I'd love to see them say, okay, look, if you're going to hire people like this, if this is really how you feel about our product, we're taking our business elsewhere. We'll either dub it ourselves, like we kind of saw with Bushy Road, right? With with them doing their own simulpub, okay, instead of letting localizers handle it, you know, or just hiring out somebody else, who will respect their material. Quote, idiots who assume all dubs are bad and all subs are good, or vice versa, don't actually have any analytical skills, and their opinion simply does not matter, unquote. The localizer turned up his nose. Quote, they've decided they're going to hate our work no matter what. No, I mean I've seen some. I've seen some good dubs over the years. You know, you know, um, before everybody thought that going woke was the way to go, and disrespecting source material was the in thing. You know, even Funny had some good dubs over the years. You know, Dragon Ball and One Piece are both relatively good dubs. Um, you know. Basically, these localizers make people hate them because they're being disrespectful to the original creator. Quote, we actually already saw a post from some DA, and that's not district attorney, that's something else, but you guys know how I feel about swear words. The original subtitles from episode 1, when it says, small in quotes, big or small, if you've got a bleep, you're a man, right? Because he read that as anti-trans, and what's happy, the localization team didn't Dragon made the line. Yeah, and those of you who we've covered that quite a bit too. He continued to condescend this particular swing, referring to the Dragon Maid dub controversy. Quote, lots of sweaty, racist nerd boys got mad about that one because they didn't want woke politics in their breast show. Even though that dialogue was literally the character going, quote, here's why I like to dress with my uh, bleep out. No, in doing with that and we've talked about this too with that particular Dragon Ball scene. We've talked about it several times. When Jamie changed that dialogue, right, for that, it was taken. It was they basically just took it totally out of context. Okay, they decided to go from her acknowledging the fact that she was getting a lot of attention, and that's why she changed up because maybe she wasn't comfortable with the attention, to making it a line about patriarchal societal demands, which had absolutely nothing to do with it in terms of not just lines that were used, but in terms of concept, in terms of what the author had intended. That's what these people don't understand. People don't want you. They don't want you changing the material. They don't want you preaching at them. Um, they don't want to be beaten over the head with your ideology. They just want to watch a good show, a show that they'd enjoy. And when you make such alterations to it, you take all the fun out of it. Just because you localizers are a bunch of jerks who won't respect the original license, the original property. And for those of you who haven't already, if you guys can like and share this soon, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. As always, feel free to feel free to feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, and we're finishing up this article here. Quote, very, very funny that person praised in smaller quotes anti-trans rhetoric in one of the most famous examples of early trans rep in anime with the most trans dub of all time, unquote. He ultimately concluded, quote, whoops, dummy should have watched the rest of the show first before showing his whole bleep, unquote. So that's it for that. So, and I think I'm going to move on to the. So, with that, I hope everybody some good ideas out of that. So now we're going to, of course, move on to the. We're going to start to wind down, wrap up, what have you. I'm going to go ahead and start. Go ahead and start wrapping things up here a little bit. Going to move on to the wrestling wrap up, and of course, there is some news from WWE as well. So first off, let's go over real quick what happened on last night's Raw, as we're gonna, of course, there's a couple, and then afterwards, I got a couple other news items to go over as well from there, and then talk about what's happening on Dynamite tomorrow night as they're preparing for Revolution on Sunday. So let's see now. So on last night's Raw, of course, Sami Zayn would defeat Shinsuke Nakamura in the opening match of the night. Raquel Rodriguez defeated Chelsea Green. The tag team of Imperium of Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci defeated the New Day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods in a tag team street fight. Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark defeated Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae coming off of their tag team loss at the previous, Saturday, from this past Saturday's Elimination Chamber in Perth. Nia Jax continued her push as she defeated former women's champion Liv Morgan via DQ, mind you. And in the main event, saw Cody Rhodes defeat Grayson Waller. So that's all happened last night on Raw, of course. Now, some other news of interest for you guys. First off, Bobby Roode, known for his time both in TNA and WWE, Bobby Roode officially announced his retirement over the weekend. So, now what basically happened was he was just recently cleared to come back to wrestle. He was recently medically cleared to make his in-ring return. The thing is though, is that he, in the time that while he was recovering, he had become a backstage guy for the basically one of the producers, agents, whatever you want to call them. Basically, one of the guys, one of the handlers. And he's kind of revealed that he kind of enjoyed that position. And therefore now he's also recently come out and said he might want to have one more like retirement match. And I think he recently revealed that last match he'd like to have against AJ Styles. These, of course, are two guys who were big stars for TNA back in back in the aughts. So yeah. And a bit of sad news that we have to kind of talk about too here. So it was revealed that founding Four Horsemen member, NWA legend Ole Anderson passed away today at the age of 81. Of course, Ole Anderson, even before he was a Horseman, had made a name for himself throughout Georgia and the Mid-Atlantic areas. He was had basically become the kayfabe. His real name, of course, Al Rogowski. He was the kayfabe brother of Gene Anderson, and they had several tag team title reigns in Georgia and Mid-Atlantic. He had basically replaced Lars Anderson, another kayfabe brother of Gene. But I think, from what I understand, Gene and Ole were probably the most successful duo of all the teams. And of course, Ole would later team with Arn Anderson for a few national tag team title reigns. And then, of course, the two of them would go on to form Four Horsemen. And during his time in the late 70s and early 80s, Ole Anderson was also a booker for Georgia Championship Wrestling as well. He was the booker for Georgia Championship Wrestling, and then when that was sold to Vince McMahon in 1984 on what would become known, I believe, as Black Saturday, he would also be the booker for Championship Wrestling from Georgia. So, but Ole Anderson passed away at the age of 81 today. We're going to go ahead and do a quick moment of silence, and then we'll get back to the neat news. All right. So now getting back to getting back to the wrestling wrap up here. As we now, tomorrow night will be Dynamite's go home episode, heading into this Sunday's Revolution pay-per-view. Of course, Sting's last match, in which he's main eventing with Darby Allin. He's main eventing with Darby Allin. So on tomorrow night's Dynamite, which will be coming to you from Huntsville, Alabama, from the Probst Arena at Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama. One match has already been signed, which was set up on last week's Collision. AEW's Triple Crown champion Eddie Kingston teams with Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler of FTR to take on the three members of Blackpool Combat Club of Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, and Jon Moxley. So And there'll probably be more matches announced by tomorrow night. We'll, of course, talk about those tomorrow night as everything's being set up for this Sunday's Revolution, Sting's retirement match. You also have a triple. We'll go over all that probably on Thursday, the full card. By then, it should be more or less relatively known what the full card is going to be. They might add some matches between now and then. And then TNA recently announced that they may be looking down the line to do more in terms of getting more TV coverage for the Impact show. So, which is kind of funny because of how they basically what they're claiming now is they want to do more, but in order to do more, of course, they have to increase the budget. The only thing is that Scott D'Amore was just recently fired because they did he wanted to bring more people in and increase the budget, and they told him they wanted to keep the budget. So you never know what's going on with all that. So now with all that being said, we're done there. So why don't we today being January 27th, 2024, why don't we take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So, first off, we're going to head back 50 years ago today. As on this date, 50 years ago today, it's kind of ironic that we're just talking about the passing of Ole Anderson, because on this date, 50 years ago today, he was involved in the tournament final to crown the first NWA Mid-Atlantic Television Championship, which would eventually become the WCW World Championship, as he would fall to Dandy Danny Miller in the tournament final held in Raleigh, North Carolina on this date 50 years ago today. So 50 years ago today, Danny Miller became the first NWA Mid-Atlantic Television champion, defeating Ole Anderson in the finals of the tournament. Now, as we move ahead to 2004, that's our next stop, which was 20 years ago today. On this date in 2004, wrong one. On this date in 2004, Lloyd in Space would finish its run on Toon Disney. On this date in 2004, Lloyd in Space would complete its run on Toon Disney. And 2004 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. As one show ends, another begins. So, also on this date in 2004, 20 years ago today, the anime Duel Masters would make its Cartoon Network debut on this date in 2004. Of course, produced in part by ACGT, Duel Masters was another kind of variant of the trading card anime type game, much like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Chaotic and all that. So on this date, 2004, as Lloyd in Space was ending on Toon Disney, Duel Masters was premiering on Cartoon Network, was making its dub debut on Cartoon Network. So with that now, and finally moving on to the final piece of Nietzsche history, as we just head back just 5 years ago today. And on this date, 5 years ago today, on this date 5 years ago today, the fifth issue of Volume 3 of Books of Magic from DC's Vertigo imprint went on sale on this date in back 5 years ago today. So the fifth issue of Volume 3 of Books of Magic from DC's Vertigo imprint went on sale on newsstands on this day 5 years ago today, back in 2019. It sold for $3.99 with 32 pages. A story called A Twist in the Narrative, written by Kat Howard, art by Tom Fowler, lettered by Todd Klein, and colored by Jordan Boyd. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here tomorrow morning to news. Of course, Rick Piper has volunteered to come on tomorrow night. So we'll see Rick tomorrow night to go over more niche news and all that. And this Friday, of course, I have Terry from Mighty Geek Studios coming in as we will be finishing up our coverage of January 1940, the historical comic retrospect. Looking back to comics that went on sale back in January 1940, focusing in on, of course, on books that went on sale from the United Feature Syndicate. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye!